Hey everybody, we are going to revisit equations again today. Again, this is one of the most important things you learn in algebra, so it's something we don't want to rush through. So we are going to solve some two-step equations, and then we're going to take some sentences, some word sentences. We're going to translate them into symbols and solve the equations. So let's jump right in with a couple of equations. Remember that when we solve an equation, our goal always is to isolate the variable. And so I need to look at this right side of the equation, 3x plus 4, and figure out how to get the variable by itself. 3x plus 4, the little trick we talked about last week was to undo the last thing that was done to the variable. The last thing that was done to the variable is this add 4. The inverse of addition is subtraction, and so we are going to subtract 4, not just from the left side, but also from the right side, so that we can keep everything balanced. If I subtract 4 from the left side, they cancel, and I'm left with just 3x. On the right side, 25 minus 4 is 21. And now I look at this sort of new equation I've got. My goal is still to isolate the variable. Currently, that x is multiplied by 3. The inverse of multiplication is division, and so I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I'm left with x equals 7. Now, of course, I could check it by substituting it back in to the original equation. 3 times 7 is 21. 21 plus 4 is 25, and so I can be fairly confident that I did this right. If I jump over to number 2, the variable I'm attempting to isolate is here. So negative 14 equals negative 2a plus 6. First thing I need to eliminate from this side of the equation is the positive 6. The inverse of addition is subtraction, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. Do not be shy if you need a calculator. Negative 14 minus 6 is negative 20. And last step in getting this variable isolated, it is currently multiplied by negative 2, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. They cancel on the right-hand side. Negative 20 divided by negative 2 is positive 10. And that equation is done. Number 3, a over 4 minus 9 equals negative 3. So if I think about reading that left side out loud, a over 4 minus 9. The last thing that I said is minus 9. And so the first thing to get rid of is that minus 9. The inverse of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Cancels them out on the left side. So on the left side now I'm just left with a over 4. On the right side, negative 3 plus 9 is positive 6. And now I'm going to look at this left side. Goal is to get this variable by itself. A divided by 4, the inverse of division, is multiplication. And so I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And I'm left with a equals 24. For number 4, fraction, different approach completely. If I read this out loud, 7 equals w plus 2 over negative 3. Now in this case, the last thing I said was the over negative 3 or divided by negative 3. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of that negative 3. The inverse of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 3. It will cancel them out on the right-hand side so that I'm left with just w plus 2. On the left-hand side, negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. And now I can look at what's left. W plus 2, how do I get rid of the plus 2? The inverse of addition is subtraction, so I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. It cancels them from the side of the variable. Negative 21 minus 2 more is negative 23. Okay, now we're going to switch gears a little. We're going to look at some words. And so this is going to be sort of a multi-step process. First, we need to take these words and we need to translate it into an equation. And then once we do that, we can look at solving it. So if I look at this equation, 3 times a number. Remember, a number we don't know, I'll just choose x. So 3 times a number. We're just going to approach it one piece at a time. Increased by 1. If you remember, increased by means I'm adding 1. Is 19. Is sort of that magic word that means equals. And so I've taken that sentence, I've written an equation, and now I'm going to solve the equation. 3 times x plus 1. To eliminate the plus 1, I minus 1, subtract 1 from both sides. They will cancel on this side, so I'm left with 3 times x equals 18. And then the inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I'm left with x equals 6. All right, we're going to do 2 more of these, and then you will be all set to practice on your own. Twice a number decreased by 7 is negative 19. Again, we'll approach this in stages. Twice a number means some number, pick your variable, times 2. So twice a number, I'm going to write 2 times a. Decreased by 7. Decreased by means I'm taking 7 away from something. So minus 7 is negative 19. So here's my equals. Negative 19. What is the number? So 2 times a minus 7, inverse of minus 7 plus 7. Again, don't be shy about using a calculator. Negative 19 plus 7 is negative 12. And then the last step, this is 2 times a. The inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm dividing both sides by 2. And I'm left with a equals negative 6. All right, and we've got one left. When 6 is added to 4 times a number, the result is 50. So this is a little bit different in terms of how it's worded, but the process is going to be the same. So when 6 is added, so 6 is added to 4 times a number, 4 times a number, the result, or the answer, is 50. So we've got an equation. Now we're going to solve the equation. Subtract 6 from both sides. They're going to cancel over here. I'm left with 4 times y equals 44. And then the very last step, divide both sides by 4. And I'm left with y equals 11. Okay, hopefully that helps. 7 sort of quick equations. Your assignment is a worksheet, which has, I believe, 8 equations that are already written. It has a couple, like the last 3 that we just did, where you have to take the words and translate them to an equation and then solve it. And then finally, a couple of review problems.